Hey everybody, Janae Spry here, productivity expert, growth strategist, systems expert. So today we are going to talk about something that I think is just magic in my business, which is how to use email templates for almost every email. So this is something I'm really adamant about. And like I said in the description, I do it a little bit automatically, and I understand that's sort of how my brain works. So I'm breaking that down a little bit to help you, even if that's not natural for you. So let's hop right in. So the very first thing that I want to talk about here is categorizing. So in all of the emails and communications that we have as part of what we do, there are always going to be categories. So if what you do is sales heavy, so you do a lot of negotiating with clients, a lot of prospecting, dealing with objections, things like that. These are all different categories. If you send reminders, a lot of these things can be either using templates or you can automate them. So for example, using a scheduling tool, something like that, you can create automatic reminders for things like that. You can just eliminate those emails completely. If you're sending project quotes or proposals, things like that, you need to follow up. A lot of times those emails are going to be really, really similar. So these are just a few of the categories that I use. And I want to just draw your attention really quick to the FAQ style. What I mean by this is a lot of people tend to use email like instant messaging, and there's this back and forth, and it can just be exhausting. And so a lot of times when people think about email templates, they figure that they can't use them because often they're going back and forth with their clients or their vendors or whoever, so they can't use them. If you use email almost like an FAQ, so you sort of give people a bunch of if-then statements, then those things do start to repeat themselves. It's less so when you're going back and forth, but it is more so when you can think about making sure that the person on the other end of the communication has 100% of the information that they need to make a decision and take action without having to come back to you a second, third, fourth, whatever time. So that's really the goal, right? Because that really, really reduces the amount of email that you're sending, and it really allows you to systematize, categorize, and ultimately automate or template your emails. So a rule that I really like to use is if you repeat yourself 3 times, you probably need a template or a system for that. So when I say repeat yourself, it does not have to be exactly word for word the same thing, but you're like, wow, I spend a lot of time, giving my customers information about X or Y. How can I automate that? How can I create a template for that, systematize that, right? So 3 times is a really good way to kind of indicate that. And again, even if it doesn't overlap exactly, that's okay, because you can still modify templates. It doesn't have to be 100%. And that brings me to my next little slide here. It doesn't have to be an 100% copy. You want to think about, even if you can have 3 or more templates in one. So I'll give you an example. In one of the businesses that I run, I provide a sort of curriculum for all of the content that we have on our website. It's so overwhelming. So I give people an individual curriculum. Well, that email template provides about 4 different types of curricula, which I'm not going to send them all of those, all 4, but the beginning of the email and the end of the email are very similar, and the middle is where I put the curriculum. So I put the same email template, but then I just delete the parts that I don't need and add anything else. And it's way faster than me having to create that from scratch, right? So it's okay to have, more than one type of template in one place. So maybe you work with 4 main different types of clients, and so you want 4 different types of email templates, or maybe the email that you send out originally is pretty similar but only changes a little bit depending on the type of business that you're working with for those 4. So maybe you include all 4 in the same email template and then just delete the ones that you don't need. But either way, just remember that you're just trying to avoid duplicating your efforts here. So it's okay to just have way too much information in one template and you remove stuff, or vice versa. You want to consider your template as really just sort of a base to go off of so that you, again, aren't repeating yourself to the extent that you can avoid it. And then really key, if you're new to using templates, highlight the areas that you need to update so you don't end up sending someone something like, hi, so-and-so from, and then like literally it says the word company or something like that. So make sure you use all caps, highlight in yellow, something the areas that need to be updated so you don't send anybody that very obvious template email. Nobody likes to receive that. So please make sure you are doing that. It's a very, very important piece of this aspect. But one of the really cool things about using templates is that it really allows you to track your effectiveness as a business owner and also your communication style. So if you use similar language when you talk to people in different situations and you're actually tracking that, then you can actually track what works and what doesn't. So you can actually figure out if your communication style is effective in those scenarios or not. So you can use different tools and start to understand how things are working. But if you're reinventing the wheel every single time and writing vastly different types of content every single time you're communicating basically the same thing, then it's really hard to understand what is effective for that scenario. It also really helps, like I said before about the FAQ type templates, to really end the tendency of using emails as instant messaging, right? Because you're really using email in a serious way and really trying to make sure that you are categorizing and tracking your communication and not just, oh, let me shoot off this email really quickly, that you're like really paying attention to what you're saying, how often you're saying it, and all of these things, right? So all of that goes into how you systematize your business. Some really good tools. Canned Responses, I believe, is free for Gmail. The tool I use is called Yesware. I'm a really big fan. It has all different types of, it has a bunch of different tools that I don't even use. So it does have mail merge, which is not something that I've used for my own business, but I know I've helped a lot of people use it. And then also, if you are anti-tools like this, you can just use an old school Word file and put them in folders or something like that. That's totally fine, or maybe a Google Drive. But Yesware is really cool because you can actually just open your email, and then it has an actual plugin for G Suite if you use that, and just select the email template and it populates it. It can include email attachments. It can include subject lines, all kinds of things like that. And it will also give you tracking information. So it'll say, you use 20% of your emails were sent using templates and you had like a 90% open rate or something like that. So it'll give you all of that type of data for your actual emails, separate from like your email marketing. So similar type tracking information, but for your actual emails that you're sending on an hourly/daily basis, right? So just to recap, what we want to talk about is for email templates, we want to remember to categorize the emails that you're sending. So is it sales and prospecting, sales objections, that type of thing. If you do it 3 times or more, you probably need a template for that. Track and get organized. So make sure that you're not just shooting off emails and pretending like emails aren't taking up your time, because they are. And it's a really, really important thing to systematize. And remember to use the tools that are available. And if you are tool adverse, then fine, use a Google Drive file or something like that. But check out Yesware, check out Canned Responses. There are a ton of programs that do this. So do your research and find one that you feel like works for you. You can find some that are free, some that are within a cheaper price range, more expensive. So just check all of them out and see what works for you. But definitely use this tip from this week and start building email templates. You will not regret it. I promise it will save you so much time in the long run. All right, guys, so let me know below if you've used email templates before. Are you going to start using them now? What are you going to use them for? Let me know and let's chat. All right, guys, thanks.